Can you imagine coming home to find your brand new driveway buried under a mountain of dirt, with your neighbor standing there, smirking like she's just won a war? That's exactly what happened to me, and let me tell you, it's a story that'll make your blood boil and your jaw drop. My name's Ethan, and this is the tale of how Linda Harris, the neighborhood's self-appointed queen, tried to ruin my life over a slab of concrete and how she ended up in handcuffs. I'd been levying in Maple Grove Estates for just under a year, thrilled to finally own my first home. The place was a dream: shady trees, neat lawns, a community pool that sparkled in the summer sun. Sure, there was a homeowners association, but I figured the fees were a small price to pay for keeping the neighborhood pristine. What I didn't bargain for was Linda Harris, the HOA's iron-fisted president, who seemed to have a personal vendetta against anyone who dared breathe without her approval. From the moment I moved in, she was on me like a hawk. My MOVYing truck was parked on the street 10 minutes past her so-called permitted hours, and there she was, slapping a notice on my door before I'd even unpacked my coffee maker. My mailbox was apparently half an inch too tall. The roses I planted? Wrong shade of red. I tried to play nice, tweaking what I could and politely pointing out when her demands were straight-up nonsense, but Linda wasn't the type to back down. Then came the driveway. The one I'd inherited with the house was a cracked, uneven mess, tripping me up every time I carried groceries. I saved for months, researched contractors, got city permits, and most importantly submitted all the right forms to the HOA's architectural committee. I wasn't about to give Linda an easy win. The committee approved my plans, signed off by 3 members, none of whom were her. That, I later realized, was probably what set her off. The day the concrete was poured, Linda showed up, snapping photos and wrinkling her nose like she'd smelled something rotten. "That concrete's too pale," she sniffed. "It doesn't match the other driveways." I pulled out my paperwork, calm as I could manage. "It's approved, Linda. Right here, see?" She snatched the forms, scanned them with those beady eyes, and shoved them back. "I'm overriding this," she snapped. "It'll have to be redone." I couldn't help but I laughed. "That's not how it works." The committee signed off. "It's done." Her face went crimson, and she stormed off, hissing, "We'll see about that." The next morning, a letter was taped to my door, claiming my driveway VYOLAT, community standards, and demanding I fix it immediately. No official HOA letterhead, just Linda's name scrawled at the bottom like she was signing a royal decree. I ignored it. 2 days later, another letter arrived, this time threatening fines. I called the committee chair, who sighed and said, "She does this, Ethan. Makes mountains out of molehills. Just keep records of everything." Smart at VYC, because Linda wasn't done. She started parking her SUV right in front of my house every day, snapping photos of my property like a private investigator. She went door to door with a clipboard, strong-arming neighbors into signing some petition against my driveway. Most just signed to get her off their porches. She even called an emergency HOA meeting about declining aesthetic standards, which was clearly code for my home improvements. I showed up, along with half the neighborhood, curious to see how far she'd go. Linda had a full-blown PowerPoint, complete with zoomed-in shots of my driveway, mailbox, and flower beds, each circled in red like crime scene EVY Denke. When I presented my approved paperwork, she tried to shout me down, but my neighbor Sarah piped up. "His driveway's gorgeous, Linda. It's an upgrade. Why are you so obsessed?" The room murmured agreement, and I could see Linda's grips slipping. For someone like her, losing face was worse than any rule violation. 3 days after the pour, while the concrete was still curing, she made her move. I was at work when my phone pinged with a security camera alert. I opened the app and watched, stunned, as a truck backed into my driveway and dumped a massive pile of dirt right on my new concrete. Linda stood there, pointing exactly where she wanted it, like a general directing an airstrike. My heart pounded as I called the police and sped home. When I got there, Linda was still at the scene, arms crossed, that smug smile plastered across her face. I could barely keep my voice steady. What the hell is this? She batted her eyelashes, voice dripping with fake sweetness. Just bringing your property up to HOA standards, Ethan. That driveway wasn't approved. I held up my phone, already recording. So you're admitting you ordered this? You know this is criminal property damage, right? Her smile faltered, just for a second. Then my neighbor Jack jogged over, phone in hand. I got it all on video, Ethan. The truck, Linda telling them where to dump it, everything. Called 911 already. Linda's face twisted into rage. You can't call the police on me. I'm the HOA president. But the sirens were already closing in. 2 officers stepped out of their cruiser, eyeing the dirt pile with a mix of confusion and amusement. I laid it all out, showing them my security footage. Jack handed over his video, too, pointing out how Linda had micromanaged the whole operation. She cut in, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. Officers, this is an HOA matter. As president, I'm enforcing our rules. The taller officer raised an eyebrow. Ma'am, damaging someone's property isn't an HOA matter. That's a crime. Did you order this dirt dumped here? Linda clutched her precious HOA handbook like a shield. Well, yes, and did you have legal authority to do that? She stammered, but the officer cut her off. Being on an HOA board doesn't let you destroy property. ID, please. As Linda fumbled for her license, neighbors started gathering, whispering and pointing. The officers took our statements, watched the videos, and made a quick radio call. Then they turned to Linda. Linda Harris, you're under arrest for criminal destruction of property. You have the right to remain silent. Her face went white as a sheet. This is outrageous, she screeched as they cuffed her. I'm the HOA president. The officer didn't blink. HOA rules don't trump state law, ma'am. As they led her to the cruiser, her husband, Greg, pulled up, looking like he'd just been punched in the gut. He rushed over, apologizing profusely. Ethan, I had no idea she'd go this far. I'll cover the damages, whatever it takes. I appreciated it, but I wasn't letting this slide. Thanks, Greg, but this needs to go through the legal system. She's been harassing half the neighborhood for years. I called a lawyer that night, one who knew HOA disputes inside and out, and reached out to the HOA's VYC president, who was floored by Linda's stunt. He called an emergency board meeting for the next evening. Word spread like wildfire on the neighborhood's social media group, and suddenly, people were spilling their own Linda stories, petty citations, threatening notes, constant snooping. She'd bullied so many into silence, making them think they were alone. At the meeting, the room was packed. The VYC president dropped a bombshell. Linda had been voted out as president 3 months ago after complaints piled up, but she'd flat out refused to step down, acting like the vote never happened. The board, too spineless to push back, had let her keep playing dictator. That was over now. The next week, Linda faced her arraignment. Charged with criminal mischief and property destruction, she tried to spin it as a neighborhood misunderstanding. The judge wasn't buying it. Mrs. Harris, he said, voice like steel. HOA disputes are CIVYL. Destroying property is criminal, no matter what title you claim. The videos sealed her fate. She got a year of probation, $7,500 in restitution for my driveway, 200 hours of community service VYC, and a 5-year ban from any community board. When the sentence hit, she gasped like she'd been sentenced to exile. 5 years? She wailed, as if her whole world had crumbled. For Linda, losing her HOA throne was worse than jail time. The courtroom went quiet, everyone watching her pedestal shatter. My driveway's fixed now, and the neighborhood feels lighter without Linda's reign of terror. But I'll never forget the sight of her in that cruiser, still clutching her handbook, still belying she was untouchable. Some people learn the hard way that power doesn't mean you're above the law.